This story title is I do not understand this kind of entitlement at all, lack of basic self-preservation. My daughters, 32F, live-in boyfriend, 34M, and the father of our grandchild, of whom we have custody, has a level of entitlement I frankly cannot understand. I'm just left with my mouth gaping open at his attitude. He moved to our state 5+ years ago, following our daughter after he was evicted from his family's homes for being a deadbeat. Both his mother and aunt have kicked him out and will not allow him to return. His mother kept his dog and kicked her son out. That's funny to me. Since his arrival he's not held a regular job for more than a week. His most recent example was him working for a grocery store in the deli. He quit after a week when they passed him over for an assistant manager's spot. A week? He started many jobs in the past 5 years and quits nearly immediately after they offend him in some way, which usually is a trumped-up reason based on some slight offense, mostly not treating him like the royalty he thinks he is. Another example, friend of a friend got him a job on a construction site. He just had to arrive with safety boots and he'd be guaranteed to have a job holding a sign that said slow/stop on it. Just stand there and hold the sign. He missed the start date. However, he lucked out as the FOAF involved was sick that first day and they rescheduled a start for the following week. Boyfriend didn't show. No job for you. He's done some DoorDash and similar gig work but will only do it if his girlfriend goes along so she can do the jump out and get/drop the package part of the gig. He just wants to drive. This means that he is only willing to work when she isn't at work. This is now moot since their cars have been repossessed. Daughter later lost her $25 per hour full-time job, her fault, see below TLDR note, and is now cleaning houses/Airbnb/APTs as gig work. She's their sole income source. At one point he got into a state program that gave you a place to live, gave you drug/alcohol/employment counseling, meds, and worked to integrate you into society. He didn't last a week after he refused to participate in group counseling sessions, and, of course, participation is a requirement for the program. There was a time where our daughter was in jail/rehab where he didn't have a place to live and was living on the street. He'd rather do that than get a job. He also refused to stay in a shelter. It was beneath him. There's certainly a victim component here. Nothing is ever his fault, everything happens to him and it's all terribly unfair. He has to be the center of attention. He left a play date with his kid after they weren't paying enough attention to him. There's an entire history here that rapidly gets into TLDR territory, drugs, DV charges, child neglect, TPOs, etc. They're all relatively minor misdemeanor charges and issues, the kind of things the judge gives you probation for. He's also failing to participate in any of his probation requirements, therapy/drug testing, and is likely to be violated soon. Most of what seems to be missing is, to me, basic self-preservation. If I meet my probation requirements, I don't go to jail. If I work this week, I can buy food. He seems to lack any awareness of cause and effect. For the record, he spent about a week in jail after the DV thing and was calling his girlfriend multiple times per day to bail him out. He doesn't like jail but won't do anything to avoid it. She did bail him out and he missed his court date afterward. I just cannot understand that he doesn't seem to understand that if you work, then you can eat and sleep in a bed. His avoidance of employment, and any form of responsibility, is like some sort of compulsion or mental illness. There's nothing rational about it. It strains my liberal brain, the part that says give people a hand up, not a handout. He only wants the handout. Any hand up is refused. Thanks for reading my rant. Apologies for the ellipsis and parenthetical remarks. I write like my ADD brain thinks, which is with lots of parentheses. Deadbeat dad is trying to be in my life, and I'm uncomfortable. I, 19 FTM, haven't spoken to my dad for 5 years, and he was very absent from my life my whole childhood. Never paid child support, didn't ever call me, never made an effort to see me, made excuses when my mom tried to get him to see me, etc. 3 days ago, he finds my Facebook and sends me a long, rambling essay that starts with I don't know who you've become or how you see me, but I want you to understand some things about your mom, me, and our story. Overall the message is pretty awful, and goes on several tangents about my mom, and how I hurt him by not calling him myself when I was a child preteen. Some excerpts being we had our arguments, and one time I lost my temper and threw a computer monitor. I replaced it, but your mom used that moment against me later, claiming I had abused her. I never, ever laid a hand on her. That's the truth, and if you don't believe me, ask her. Look her in the eyes and ask. And I don't have to listen to it. I don't deserve the disrespect, and frankly you owe me an apology. You want to be treated like a man, then act like one. Only women hide from accountability for their actions. Men are always held accountable. Women dodge. And that's the damn truth, son. I responded. I don't know why I feel so obligated to reconnect with him after he sends me this long, manipulative message, but I guess I'm worried about him. We've been talking and it started off fine. But he's just, so much. He's constantly sending me long, uncomfortable rants about how much he loves me and hates my mom for putting space between us. He also sometimes go off on kind of scary things, like how he will find and kill my abusive ex-stepfather. I'm just unbelievably uncomfortable, and I don't know what to do. I agreed to see him this Sunday, but he's going on tangents about how he's going to take me somewhere beautiful so we can spend all day together. Any advice? Update: I wrote him a letter, sent it, and blocked him. I kept going back and forth on what to do, but after going over all of the texts and our history with my therapist, 99% of everything could not fit in this post. He said he was genuinely scared for me, and that's the push I needed to make this decision. Well, at 1 a.m. last night, 3 hours after I completely cut him off, my mom gets a text from him. He starts going on some angry rampage, saying he's going to sue her for emotional distress, and for filing a restraining order. Which I didn't mention in my original post, but she got the restraining order after he went into detail on how he would kidnap me. I really doubt he has the funds to hire a lawyer who would actually take such a ridiculous case, but I feel bad. I don't want this bullshit to be put on my mom.
I, 17M, am fed up with my entitled sister and my mom who always sides with her. Every special occasion has been ruined by them. When I turned 16, I wanted to go to an amusement park with a few friends to celebrate my sweet 16. I had been looking forward to it for weeks and even saved up some of my own money to buy snacks and souvenirs. My mom said my sister had to come even though I begged her not to bring her. She promised my sister would behave, but I knew better. From the moment we got in the car, my sister started complaining. She didn't like the music, the seatbelt was too tight, and she didn't want to sit in the back. My mom immediately snapped at me to switch seats with her, so I ended up crammed in the back while my sister stretched out in the front. At the park, things only got worse. She refused to go on any of the rides my friends and I wanted to try. Every time we got in line for something, she whined about how it was scary or boring and demanded we go somewhere else. My mom told me to compromise and let her pick some rides, so we ended up wasting nearly an hour on kiddie rides that none of us wanted to go on. When we finally got to a roller coaster I had been looking forward to, my sister threw a full-blown tantrum screaming that she was scared and didn't want to be left alone. My mom forced me to skip it and stay with her. Then came lunch. I wanted pizza, but my sister demanded burgers. My mom said it was easier to just get burgers to avoid another meltdown. While eating, my sister knocked over her drink and started crying about how her clothes were wet. My mom blamed me for not helping her sooner and made me give her my jacket. The rest of the day was just more whining and complaining until my mom finally decided we should leave early because my sister was too tired to keep going. My friends were clearly annoyed and I felt embarrassed for dragging them into such a disaster. There were plenty of other times she ruined my day, like my 14th birthday party and much, much more. But honestly, it is too much to even write about. I am just counting down the days until I can leave this house and never look back. My 15-year-old sister is a thief and my parents do nothing. This has been happening for years. At first, I thought I was losing my stuff, but one day I found some books I thought were gone in her room. That's when I realized my younger sister is the one taking my things without permission. In that incident with the books, I confronted her, told her they were mine, and demanded she return them. She refused, we struggled, and she ended up hitting me and making my lip bleed. And guess who my parents blamed? Me, for not sharing. How am I supposed to share something if I was never even asked for it and she just took it? This happens every time I catch her taking something of mine. I'm always the one at fault for not knowing how to share. This makes me feel completely unprotected in my own home. Not only do they fail to respect my belongings, but it also seems like my parents justify her behavior. The last time I realized she had stolen something from me, my markers, I didn't say anything to anyone. Just took them back, bought a combination lock for my backpack, and now I keep all my valuable belongings secured. I mean, if my parents won't do anything about their daughter being a thief, then I have to protect my stuff from her myself. I'm so tired of this situation, and my parents don't seem to realize how serious this problem is. How can I make them understand that my sister needs to face consequences for her actions? This isn't just about me. If they keep enabling this behavior, eventually I won't be the only one affected. Sooner or later, it could impact them or even people outside our family. If this is how she behaves at 15, I can't even imagine how much worse it will get when she's older. My mom bought me 2 goldfish for Christmas and no tank. Quick bit of background. I recently went very low contact with my parents but came home for Christmas to keep the peace, I suppose, and to check on the dog and my siblings who live abroad, so I only see them at my parents' house. My mom is heavily in denial about this and heard I like fish, so she bought a tank, which is a tiny glass handbag the size of my hand, then found out through my brother that I already have a fish tank, and still bought me 2 common goldfish so big already that they couldn't even turn around in the tank. There was also no filter, and these fish were hyperventilating and gasping for air and couldn't even move really. I quietly freaked out at first as I tried to figure out what I would do. They can't go in my tank as I have tropical fish and it's already at capacity. I'm still learning about fish care, and cold water fish are not my specialty, but I do know common goldfish can get to 10 inches and need 2 liters of water per 0.5 centimeters of fish size. They are also meant to live 10 to 15 years, contrary to common belief. People say fish grow to the size of their tank, which is technically true, but they were already too big for this tank and it causes severe health issues to have stunted growth. I asked my mom where she got the fish so I could return them. At first she refused to tell me and then admitted it was the local pet shop. This sparked a massive argument where she started crying, saying she didn't want me to be upset, and this took days of planning. She also would not leave me alone when I asked her to get out of my room so I could think. Then she poured the fish into a slightly bigger vase while I wasn't looking. It is a bit better, but it is nowhere near what these fish need and they still cannot breathe properly. A friend of mine is looking into getting the equipment to maybe take them in until I get a bigger place, because right now I really don't have the funds to set up a massive second fish tank big enough for 2 goldfish, and I also don't have the space. This has really messed up our Christmas, since any time I say anything about the fish it is immediately assumed I'm being ungrateful and pessimistic when I'm just stating facts about what the fish need. I'm told not to worry about it since I can't do anything about it, but I'm hyper aware they're there and suffocating. I'm worried they won't even make it until my friend can maybe take them next week, since they were in that bag for 4 days already. I feel like my Christmas present was, while probably unintentional, to force me to abuse my favorite animals while all my knowledge about their care is very fresh in my mind. If anyone is thinking about getting someone a goldfish as a present, do not do it. They are not a decoration. They can die an agonizingly slow and painful death from poisoning and suffocation in a small tank with no filter. I just really needed to rant about this because I feel like I'm going insane. My options really seem to be to spend money I don't have on a massive fish tank I have no space for, rely on a friend to do that instead who might have space for them, and hope they can get the setup ready on time even though all shops are closed right now, or leave the fish at my parents' house where they will die. And somehow I'm the drama for being upset. I don't know if this was my mom's way of trying desperately to win my affection back or something, or if she knew I had no space so I'd have to leave them here and come home more often to look after them, or if she really thought I could keep 2 goldfish, each already about 3 inches long, in a narrow glass bag the size of my hand. There is no good option here, and I'm just upset because I already love these fish and it breaks my heart to see them dragged into this and suffering. My parents blamed me for the results of the Eurovision. Yes, you read that right. Back in 2006, when Eurovision was held in Athens, I was watching the contest at home with my mom and stepdad. Now, my family has never been what you'd call normal. There was a lot of psychological abuse, never physical, thankfully. But that particular day seemed like it was going to be nice. We had snacks, soft drinks. We had fun. And then Lordy came on stage with Hard Rock Hallelujah. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google an image of them. It's essential to understand the vibe here. Now, my parents weren't religious at all. They didn't care about religion one way or the other. But the moment they saw Lordy, they started laughing hysterically. What the hell is this? What a bunch of weirdos! Ridiculous, stupid, awful. I was honestly shocked to see Lordy on Eurovision. But I also admitted, hey, I actually know this band. I like them. I listen to them. And then I made the fatal mistake of adding, I even own their CD. I went to my room and brought it out to show them. They kept laughing. Now it was me they were laughing at. You're as stupid as that band, they said. Your whole generation is stupid like that band. Sure, whatever. I was used to it. But overall, the vibe of the evening stayed okay. We were still hanging out together. It was still nice. Until Lordy started winning. The more points they got, the happier I got. But my parents? They were furious. It didn't take me long to figure out that I needed to stop showing my excitement. Instead, I tried to explain to them that Lordi was a pretty well-known band and probably had fans in many countries. That's why people were voting for them, not because they were necessarily better than my parents' favorites. But it was too late. Lordi won. And my parents hated losing. That's when it started, as it always did. O, so you're happy now? Happy that your freaks won? I suppose you're going to tell us how this disgusting ideology actually makes sense to you? What's this now? Are you crying? Are you playing the victim again? Poor you, no one likes your stupid music, and now you can gloat because it appeals to a bunch of degenerates. As part of teaching me a lesson, my parents took away my computer, forbade me from going on a weekend trip with my friends that we had been planning for weeks, and confiscated my allowance because I had shown them disrespect. The next day, I ran away from home. It was the first, but not the last time. Because of Eurovision.